In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the general menus needed to know to run the CNC machine. This first screen is the main one you'll be on for a majority of the time. This is where you'll load up and run your programs. By pressing select towards the top, it will open all of the programs in the machine that you can run. Typically, each file contains all of the files needed to complete an order. Double-clicking order 2714 will show you all of the files for that order. Clicking on a file will show you a preview of the parts on the right. Now, looking at all these numbers might be confusing at first, but if you look at the last three numbers of the file, that will tell you the material type those parts are supposed to be. For example, R52001N.MPR. Looking at the 101, then below it is 102, then 103, all the way up to 109. Then it switches to 201, 202, and so on, that being of a different material. With these files, the number goes up to 9, then it switches from a numeric value to letters. For example, 101, 102, up to 109, then it switches to 10AN, 10BN, 10CN, and so on. These are all the same material type. So I selected a few files by holding down Control and selecting the files that I want in order. Then you can come down here to open and it will add all the programs to our production list. The production list being the files loaded up to the machine that are ready to run. I already had this spoil program loaded up, so I just loaded up my new programs right below it. Pressing this button on the top right locks the program or programs in, indicating that they're ready to run. At this point, I would just need to press the physical button to start the machine, and it would start cutting. Now the button is turned into a pause button. Pressing it again will allow you to cancel the locked-in programs if you needed to add or remove programs to the production list. Say I wanted to clear my list. I would come up here to the top of the screen, press Production List, then select New. It will ask if you want to save changes, and you can just say no, and it will clear it out. Let me load up these programs again. Now I have these three programs minus the spoilboard program in my production list. This box on the bottom half of the screen shows what specific program is locked in and is ready to run. These numbers on the corners represent the zone in which the panel is going to butt up against. You pretty much always want to run it on zone 5, so you shouldn't need to mess with this. So say you wanted to skip a program. One way of doing that is by pressing the play button on the top right, pressing the now stop button, and then pressing the play button again. This skips the cancel program, making it yellow. Pressing pause and play again will do the same thing to the next program. If I actually wanted to run the program, you can press on it, then press something else, making it white again, ready to run. Once the CNC has actually cut the sheet out, the status will change from active to finished, and it will turn gray. So say we're trying to run a program and you get an error message. Whenever an error message pops up, it will keep the machine from running. You may get a warning, which is the box right next to the error box. These don't usually stop you from being able to run the machine, but there are some warnings that do that. You might be able to figure out how to fix the error based on the title. If not, you can go and press Diagnostics. This will tell you more about the error. Then pressing on Details will show you even more. Some errors might already have a corrective step, some don't. One thing you can do to help yourself in the future is by writing your own corrective step. You might not know what move the support from the collision area in manual mode means, so you can make something that makes more sense to you. I made the second one to help me if I forget how to fix this specific error. To make your own, go down to the bottom right of the screen and press Edit On. Then come to the right of the screen and press Edit on a blank row. Then you can set your own cause, corrective step, and even images. Back on the main screen, let's go over navigating the different menus. Down here on the bottom left, there's a button labeled Power Touch. When you press that, all of your different menus pull up. This first option, MCC Bell Egg, is the main screen that we're currently on. Let's press on this MCC control button. This menu is basically the status of the machine. You have your location of the head in X, Y, and Z. You have the type of router bit that it's currently holding, the program that it's running, how long it's been running said program, and so on. You shouldn't have to come into this menu very often. Back to Power Touch, let's go into Tool Management. This menu lets you view and edit geometries and technologies of your bits, meaning the size, type, speed, etc., etc. Most of the bits we run have already been built, so the only time you need to do anything in this menu is if you're needing to add or delete or edit any tools. Next is the Tool Changer loading menu. You use this menu to have the machine pick up and drop off any router bits. On the left side, you have all of the bits that are currently in the machine. On the right side, bits that are outside the machine. To transfer bits in and out of the machine, first you need to raise the transfer station. This is done manually by hand. Then you just click and hold, drag, and drop from one side to the other. Then press the physical tool change button. At this point, the head is moving over to drop the 3/8 compression bit. This error message will pop up saying that it can't run any of the programs currently in the machine. In other words, there are programs in the machine that require that bit for production. This warning also pops up indicating the transfer station is up and holding a bit. Usually bits are swapped out because they're starting to get dull and start chipping parts. But whenever you do switch a bit out, make sure that it remeasures the new bit. This length button can be a little weird sometimes, so just keep an eye on whether it measured the bit or not. Sometimes the button won't even be there. If that's the case, just close the menu by pressing the X on the top right and reopening the menu. The length button should be there, and just make sure that the length button is activated when you transfer the bit back into the machine. If the bit's length isn't accurate, it may cut your parts either too deep or not deep enough. This woodwop menu is advanced for any normal operator, so for now we'll skip this. You don't absolutely need to know anything in this menu to run this machine. Next is the soft keys menus. In this first menu, the only buttons you'll have to press are the routing cycle and delete offset buttons. The routing cycle button is used when you are running the spoil board program. That button lowers the Z offset so that the surfacing tool knows how much to take off of the spoil board. Delete Z offset is used when you are changing the spoil board out for a new one. In the additional soft keys, the only buttons you should need to toggle on and off are the workpiece from upstream machine and the vacuum table buttons. The workpiece from upstream machine button signifies whether it is automatically pulling up the sheets from the lift table or you're loading up sheets by hand. The last menu I'm going to go over is the CNC simulator. The only menus after those are either menus that were already opened or don't require any knowledge for normal production. In this menu, you can see exactly how the machine thinks a program is going to be cut out. It's useful to use this menu if you think something is being cut out improperly or if there may be any problems with the drill processes. If what is being shown on the simulator doesn't match with what is physically being cut out, you might have something that needs to be adjusted or repaired. Other than that, it's fun to see how the machine works without having to physically run it.